Okay, so a next learning objective looks at group decision making. And group decision making is very important because, as we said before, several decisions are not only made individually. And what are the advantage of group decision making? As we said before, you have a large pool of knowledge. So when I was on a committee responsible for interactive teaching approaches in the college, we had knowledge from accounting, economics, um, finance. Everyone has a different way in which they approach innovative teaching. And that leads to, as a second thing, diversity in these approaches. And when a lot of people see that this committee was formed by several people across different departments, there is greater commitment to the decision that is made by the committee, because it's not that one department within the college made that decision. Even within the college, there's a better understanding of why we reached that, because there are large people involved, and each person will talk within the department about why the decision was reached. Within that group also, you can see how decisions are made. So more junior faculty can notice how senior faculty make decisions, and that's a very good thing. Disadvantage then is what? There's the social pressure, so that you want to conform with the group, and therefore if you have a different opinion than them, you might not want to express it. So if you think that there is an innovative teaching approach that is more effective, even though everyone's saying that another one is more effective, you might be less inclined to say it because you want to fit in with them. Okay? Also in groups, a few tend to be very dominant. And you, of course, might have noticed that, is that you have a group of 5, let's say, in group projects as students. Maybe 1 or 2 will try to dominate kind of the decision-making and how you're going to go about doing that project. Sometimes there's also goal displacement. I remember working in one project, one person felt shut out. So he made it his job to make sure that he won arguments within the group, regardless of whether he was right or wrong. So he displaced the overall goal of the project with his own goals, which were to make sure that he proves that he is right. And final thing, what is groupthink? Groupthink is the idea that the entire group will tend to think in the same way, and will kind of ignore any kind of information that can lead to different or better decisions, because of a sense of that there is a cohesive group and we have to stick together as a group. So group think occurs when members become deeply involved and cohesive in group, right? When everyone is really tight in that specific group, and we want to make sure that everyone reaches the same decision, and that overrides the motivation to appraise any good courses of action. Okay, because we want to be part of that group, and we don't really want to look that we are different. So there are a lot of different symptoms that would make you think that we have a group think issue over here. When, for example, there's a lot of peer pressure on people not to talk, when people start to filter out information that would lead to different courses of action, which is mind guards, when we start to rationalize our decision even though it's wrong, there's also an impression that we are invulnerable as a group, that we make always the best decisions. And these are some symptoms of groupthink. So how do we prevent groupthink? One of the things is that we assign each member the role of critical evaluator. So everyone is looked at is evaluating the decisions alone to make sure that we don't lead to that group think. So when I was part of a committee that we're looking at recruiting a new candidate, every person would evaluate each candidate alone. Because if we sat together and did that evaluation, there would be biases. I wouldn't want to think, if everyone else thinks a candidate is good, I wouldn't want to say that that candidate is not good. Because I want to fit in. But if we do it all alone, then it could, then that bias doesn't exist. We try to avoid the use of committees to rubber stamp leadership decisions. And I've been part of committees in which we used to be a rubber stamp. So whoever let's say the decision maker would give us the decision, tell us to evaluate it. And when it would come back that we say that's a bad decision, he would try to argue and provide us with other information that say it was good, or tell us, well, it's a good idea, but let's do this, and maybe we can change that in the long run. So try to avoid that, okay? And sometimes we can have subcommittees within the group. So every subcommittee examines it to make sure that we are also not reaching that kind of group thing. Okay? And we also can reevaluate our decisions after consensus is reached. So we have to make sure that we are objective as possible to break out that kind of groupthink in which we try to reach that consensus despite it not being a good decision. So Aeronautics Limited Corporation is concerned about groupthink occurring within their design team. ALC should think of the following in an effort to prevent groupthink. Once the consensus is reached, disband the team. Bring in outside experts to speak to the team. Encourage the group to become more cohesive. D, do not allow any member to bring up negative or oppositional points. Use the team to gain buy-in for projects top management wants to pursue. Well, if you said bring in outside experts to speak to the team, that is good. And we've had that in the past where we've came up with a decision that we should do our evaluation in the college every 2 years, and our dean wanted us to do it every year instead. But when someone came out from outside and said it was good to do it every 2 years, then that kind of lent a support to our decision, and the dean wasn't just using us to rubber stamp and this is, by the way, in the previous institution, not in this one. So, but anyway, so the answer is B.